Hello everybody. Welcome to our Joybox tutorial. This month we are, I'm super excited about this one because we've always done like a holiday themed, or I guess we've done a couple everyday themed, but more so just general house stuff. And so this one was kind of fun, and I thought it would be perfect for laundry room. Isn't it cute? And you could dress this up by adding a bow or whatnot, but anyways, I love this month's craft. So let's get started. Your box will come with a insert, just kind of talking about all of the bits and pieces and what you're going to need. Remember, the insert also has my email address in there if you have any issues or problems, questions. You can use that email address to message me. It also has a link to our Facebook group where you can watch the video. And it will also be posted on YouTube. So this is a project that is layered to create the length. All of the pieces here, I'm going to remove these two little guys, kind of sit in here as your lettering. We've got the lines here. This little box has your dot for your eye on the service. I like to put them in these little blocks to help not lose them. And then we have the outline of the sign here. And then we have these clips or clothespins is what I think they kind of look like, that will get glued on. This will get glued on here. And then this gives our clothes hanger some dimension. And then these will also give our clothespins, kind of the clip clothespins, some more dimension as well. That's kind of how that sits. So I'm going to get my tape out and we'll start taping down our pieces. So this one's a really easy paint, but I like that the background is kind of simple. Kind of gives you the feel of a maybe a restaurant or a what do you want to call it? A hotel, kind of a fancy hotel look. But you could easily dress the background up with some scrapbook paper. You could apply some scrapbook paper to the back. And I think that would look just as pretty as just the standard black and white. You obviously can paint it any color that you want, or whatever your laundry room colors are. My laundry room's in my basement and is in desperate need of a makeover because it's kind of just a concrete bunker down there. So I'm going to take this little eye out and put it right next to my service here just so I know. And then, so those are all my letters. I'm going to paint those all black, so I'm going to leave those separate. And then everything that's going to be brown, I will tape together. Putting all of these fun little lines together. My clothespins are going to be brown, so I'll put those together. There's that. And then this is going to be brown. I'm not going to worry about taping that. Obviously, I can hold that. But I am going to tape this guy here. Okay. There we go. All right, to start out with, I'm going to paint this piece all white. Like I said, paint it any color that you want. Use scrapbook paper. The one thing I do want to mention with the scrapbook paper is if you do that, you do cover up all of the score marks that help guide you for placement. But I feel like, you know, you can kind of eyeball it and get it close, and not have to worry about that. But that is just one thing I want to mention when finishing your piece. Now these are just score marks, so I really don't care if I fill those score marks. They are fairly deep, so I'm just going to paint right over them, and I'll still be able to see those as the paint dries. It's okay if they get a little filled and covered up. We'll still be able to see them for placement. So I know we have a couple people in the group outside of Montana, but if you're in Montana, some of you are local, some of you are close to me. It's nice to have the weather cool down just a little bit. It's the time of year where we're wearing jackets and sweaters in the morning, but shorts and stripping those layers off by the afternoon. Okay, so when you're painting your piece, you want to make sure that you're doing nice light coats. Light coats is going to dry a lot faster than heavy coats, and it allows us to create more of a smoother finish because our brush strokes aren't going to be as thick. But that also means that this first coat is always pretty bad looking, right? We've always got that splotchy look, but that's okay. We're going to leave it like this, and then that second coat is going to really clean that up. So I'm going to set that aside, and then I'm going to use my antique wax with some baby wipes, which I don't have. Don't think. Let me grab my baby wipes. So baby wipes, I'm just going to dip that in my stain here, and that's going to be painted. We're going to do this brown. So if you do not have an antique wax like this is that Waverly brand from Walmart. If you don't have something like this, you can always just use brown paint and get the same effect. The color might just be a little bit different depending on the brown paint that you have. Sometimes I find using paint gives me just a little bit of a cooler brown, whereas this has a really warm brown color to it. But you do not need to go out and buy this if you don't have it. If you just have brown paint, that will work too. And you can always just paint this black or some other color. Remember, it's your project, and you want it to match your laundry room or wherever you're going to hang it. Always just take care with these tiny skinny pieces. They are fragile, so just use a soft hand when rubbing those pieces on, or rubbing that stain or that color on. And there we go. Alright, so then I'm going to get black out and paint my letters. I'm not sure if you guys saw, but we're also kind of getting ready to launch a new service with Redbird. we were able to secure a grant this summer. Well, we applied for it last year, and then a lot of things kind of just took a long time to get processed. I think it had to do with the election and the change of officials and things like that, but we found out in May. Anyways, long story short, we were able to secure a small laser. It's a little bit different than my big laser in my shop that cuts wood. So different frequencies of lasers allow me to cut different material. And with the big laser, I'm able to cut wood and acrylic and cardboard and kind of more the natural things, or wood products, I should say, on that laser. And this new laser is a different frequency and allows me to actually engrave and cut metal. So super excited about that, and to be able to offer some custom engraved metal jewelry and accessories like keychains and things like that, which is always fun for, you know, gifts and things. Personalized gifts are always such a nice touch, allowing you to add a last name or a date or a special quote, and even some handwritten messages. So we are really looking into that. I think that is just kind of a special little something, you know, like with love, Mom, and you can engrave that on a keychain or something. I'm super excited about that. Okay, so I do have another color in here, and I'm just going to mix my white and my black out here that I have to make this gray. Kind of letting it mix on my piece here. For the hook here, kind of give it a metal look. And then this bar going across, I'm going to do in gray as well. So we have been super busy with that new laser. And I was really hoping to get it up and going for homecoming, but securing the laser came in time. I wasn't sure if it was going to, but then also securing jewelry is somewhat of a hindrance. We're finding that there's not a lot of places in the US that carry engravable jewelry. And so ordering overseas is kind of where we're going, but it's also kind of a scary thing. So make sure to find somebody that you trust and is going to produce good jewelry for us is always kind of a scary thing. We did find a couple places that carry jewelry locally in the US, and their reviews are outstanding, because we want to make sure to carry stuff that's not going to tarnish. You know, you wear it for a day and your neck is green. We want to carry like quality, and so this company that we found, again, great reviews, everyone just is raving about them. They're so popular right now in the engraving community that they're constantly out of stock of things, so that's kind of a bummer. I was able to get a few things from them, but not everything I wanted. definitely not in time for homecoming. So we're trying to kind of think outside the box a little bit, but we'll see. It might not be something we'll be able to offer this year for homecoming, but maybe next year. You definitely want to order ahead of time. And, well, for us, homecoming is in like 2 weeks, so that is definitely just not enough time. And I'm not trying to rush into anything. I typically try and rush and order all of the things and just kind of taking it slow and gonna see where it leads us. So here we are putting our second coat on, just a nice light coat. And if you've noticed, I'm just using a makeup wedge for this. You can obviously use a brush, but this is just what I grabbed. I find I don't mind using these makeup wedges as brushes in bigger areas like this. And then guess what? I don't have to clean a brush. Okay, so the wood pieces, I'm not going to put a second coat. I like the darkness of those. I am going to just kind of touch up my black. There are a few areas I can see that need a second coat. I'm just going to lightly sand it. I like to give my pieces just a quick little sand down. It helps smooth out any brush strokes and any wood fibers that might be standing up. So I always like to give it just a quick sand. It also helps with that second coat, giving me a nice smooth finish. Just quickly put a second coat on here. Black, you really, a lot of times you don't even need a second coat with black, but because I sanded it, I do want to kind of fill that back in. Now with this first one I did, I got into the white a little bit. I distressed it, and I don't think I'm going to do that with this one. I'm going to keep it nice and dark, giving it that modern feel to it. So there we go. You'll see here, let me bring in this one. You know, I sanded everything. I added some distressing on the background. I even sanded the wood pieces to kind of give it a worn look, but I think I'm going to just leave this one as a solid white and go from there. So this isn't quite dry yet, so I'm not going to glue that up, but what I can do is I can glue these pieces on and let that sit while my white is drying. So for glue, remember you can really use any type of glue that you have, whether that be a super glue, craft glue, all-purpose glue, as long as it dries clear. So in case you do get some squeezing out from your pieces, it will not affect your piece. Okay, I'm just going to hold it up here. And what I'm doing is I'm lining it up along the top here and then the sides and just letting it drop as far as it needs to there. And then once I got it where I want it, I'm going to use some clips to hold it in place. Okay, then I can glue this piece on as well. We have finalized the mini Make It for next year, so if anyone's interested in that, keep your eye out. The new series will be starting in November, but we will do signups next month. Gosh, I can't believe that. It's crazy to think. Okay, so the outside is dry. I'm going to start putting my frame on. Now, when I'm gluing up small pieces like this, I like to use a makeup wedge. Put this one up here. What I'll do is I'll just throw some glue on my palette here, just a big puddle of it. Then I'm going to use this makeup wedge. I turned my piece over and I'm just going to tap it on just like I would some paint. And I love how quickly these come together as well. If you're short on time, this one is a quick project, which is always nice. I kind of like to mix it up. Sometimes it's fun to do a longer, more intense project. Sometimes it's just nice to get something done. There's always that satisfaction of a quick win. I think that helps keep us this maybe right there. I'm gonna kind of want to bend a little bit. There's always that nice satisfaction of getting, you know, a project done. And I think then it helps inspire us and keep us motivated to do more. Be like, okay, I can do that project. Well, then I can do the next project. And well, that didn't take me as long as I thought, and it was very rewarding. So I think all of the positive stuff from a quick project kind of can help us keep that inspiration and creativity flowing. There we go. So these pieces here, you'll notice that there's a rounded piece here, that's the end, and then there's going to be like a sharp, maybe an angle, and that's where it's kind of broken around a letter. So the ends are going to have that nice rounded. If it ends in a sharp corner, then it's broken around that letter. So lay them out so you know which side goes where. Again, the ends kind of have a rounded end to them, and then these are going to come at a sharper angle. So I lay them out, and then I can make sure I get them right where I want them. I kind of lay them out and kind of see, and then I'm going to look above and kind of see where they are. Now, with these smaller pieces, sometimes you might need to put something heavy on them to get them to lay flat. As the wood cuts, so typically when you cut wood that isn't dried out, i.e. forests or, you know, lumber places, everything is so rushed anymore that a lot of the wood isn't completely dry. And so they go through the process and they make the plywood and they kiln dry it and try and get it as dry as possible. But then once it's part of a big sheet, it is semi-flat, right? And then you cut out all these little pieces, and there might be still some moisture in them, which is what happens with this plywood that we get. And it doesn't matter what kind of plywood you get, it just happens. But the smaller pieces will sometimes kind of warp as they're drying, and they're like, oh, we're now back to a small little twig, and can cause your piece to kind of have a little warp in them. And so when you're gluing your pieces, you might need to put something heavy on them. And then once they dry, once the glue sets up, you should have no problem with it. One thing to note is don't get too much glue, because just like with paint, the more glue you have, the longer it takes to set up, which can be kind of frustrating. And then too much glue can also make your piece kind of float around on the base, which then can also be frustrating, because if you have too much glue and then you put a book on it and then you go, okay, it should be dry, you remove the book and your piece is kind of floated away, that can also be super frustrating. That has happened with me. Okay, so those I just had to hold for a minute. I'm going to take these all off now. This is all set up. And we can start gluing the rest of the piece on. And then also make sure that your base that you're gluing on is completely dry, because if there is any moisture in that, then that can cause your glue to not have a good adhesion as well. Because your glue is trying to dry, your paint is trying to dry, and then there's no adhesion, and that's frustrating as well. Okay, so I am a little bit damp here. I am going to just use my blow dryer real quick and kind of speed the process up. Okay. When you're removing your tape from your delicate letters, I recommend turning it over like this. Obviously, make sure your pieces are completely dry. And then I like to pull at an angle while holding down my piece. Having the wood on a flat surface makes it a lot more sturdy and less likely to break, as opposed to trying to pull it up where you're possibly bending your piece. So we're just going to peel away that tape, and it's already upside down, ready to be glued. We're going to tap some glue on that, drop it into place. Now I'm using just an all-purpose craft glue. So I have a little bit of flexibility about moving my pieces around after I drop them. So I typically drop them and then I will rotate my piece around and just make sure that they are where I want them. Kind of adjust them just ever so slightly, just to make sure that we're good there. Doesn't that look good? I love this project. So fun. As you're laying your piece, you shouldn't see any of the score marks. They should be covered up completely. So that's always a good indication. If you're looking, you want to look at you want to rotate your base around so you can see all the angles around your letters. And then if you see any of those score marks, it just means it needs to be adjusted just ever so slightly. There we go. And I'll take the tape off these ones. And we are done. This project was super easy, super quick, which, like I said, is always a nice kind of break from some of the longer ones. Next month is a little more complicated, a little more pieces, but I really love the look of doing a fall project with lots of leaves and greenery, so a little hint there. Next month will be fall based. Alright, I'll just take a quick look. Just ending but need adjusting. Okay. So if you're using a super glue of some sort, that's your glue of choice. Obviously, you want to just double check all your pieces as you're laying them, and not wait like I do until they're all on. Because super glue, your working time from the time it sets up to the time you put it on is like 5 seconds. You got a short window there to adjust things. So just kind of keep that in mind. Although you probably already know that if you've worked with super glue for a while. I used to use a instant adhesive, but I found, because I was impatient and I wanted my stuff to set up ASAP, but I found I didn't really need that. This craft glue that I use is fairly fast in setting up, and it works just as well. It gives me a little more flexibility when I'm putting my pieces together. So if you're not happy with your glue, try other things. Okay, so check it out. Stained version, or distressed version, and actually I used a cream color on my background. It was a creamy white, or a nice bright white with some nice bright solid black. Love them both a little different in style, but super fun for decorating your laundry room. I can't wait to see your guys's. Please post a picture in the group. I love seeing how everyone does it a little bit different, and you guys putting your style on there. I hope you enjoyed this craft. I hope you find time to craft this month. Remember that your time is important too. I encourage you to write your time on the calendar, and find time to get creative, whether it's doing your joy box or something else you love. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the month, and I will chat with you later. Happy crafting. Bye.